What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here, and today I'm going to tell you about the single most expensive hypercar ever offered for sale in history. And it's American, right? That's pretty cool. Now, there's people that argue that there's only been one American hypercar, and those people are Celine. And Celine is now making 7 examples with over 1,300 horsepower of their S7 as a final edition. And the asking price, what is it? I don't know. Koenigsegg's expensive. Pagani's expensive. I mean, holy McLaren, there's a lot of expensive cars out there. Hope you're sitting down for this one. You Saudi guy, you're even going to have to call your accountant on this one. $1 billion. $1 billion. So, what did we learn today? We learned that somebody at Saleen is not very good with numbers, because I think they threw 3 extra zeros on there to take it from $1 million to $1 billion. And in the world of math, that's a huge deal. Like, that's like, with $1 billion, you could pretty much buy, like, let's just say, every Koenigsegg ever made. And Pagani. Like, all of them. Just like, hey, rich guy, I want that car. No. Okay, how about this? How about now? How about now? How about now? And then eventually be like, all right, $20 million, it's all yours. You could buy every car made by Koenigsegg and Pagani with $1 billion. Now, where do we stand? You know? It's a typo. Like, you know, like sort of clickbaity, not really clickbaity because it's actually in there. You'd think somebody would have caught that, which shows you just how many people are really interested in it, because this press release was released in December of last year. So for a solid 9 months, and I assure you by tomorrow it'll probably be changed, for a solid 9 months, they've had a typo stating that their 7 cars are going to be sold for the price of $1 billion. $1 billion. So, that's that. So let's talk about the Celine. On a serious note, I had a Celine S7. We bought one that was repossessed in Florida. Really weird story. We bought a Celine S7 from a leasing company that we worked with, that the guy bought the car and had it repossessed within 4 months. You know what that means? He's never made a payment. That means this guy said, here's 70 grand, here's 80 grand, whatever his down payment was. Never made another payment. Car got pulled, and I effectively bought it from the leasing company. I think at the time, it was a 2003 Celine S7, maybe a 04. Celine S7 competition, had the aero package on it with the carbon wing. Real nice looking car. Like sexy, sexy, sexy car. Probably one of the best looking cars ever made, because it's like super. I love it. But the only problem with that car was it was a kit car, really. It wasn't really a great car. Now, we had the NA version. I know the turbo version was allegedly better, and as they went along, they fixed it. There was about 75 Celine S7s made, give or take. And let's just say 20 of them were race cars, a handful of them were crashed, leaving probably 50 road-going cars out there. I don't know the split between turbo and non-turbo, but I can tell you, in the amount of time I had that car, A, it was cheap-ish to fix, but we had a lot of weird issues with it, starter issues. Just like, it was a kit car. Huge brakes on it, which seemed to be fine, but at the racetrack, they weren't sufficient. And I ended up blowing through Pocono. There was no way I was making the hairpin coming back in on the long course into the infield. So I was like, you know what, black flag me. I'm not going to try to wipe out this car. I went straight through because the car just wasn't stopping. It was light, it was quick, it was good power delivery. The speedometer was way off. I think I read 250 when I was driving it down in Florida, but it was probably closer to 215 or 220. That's 20%. That's a big deal. That means like 20%, when you're at 100, it's at 80. When you're at 200, it's 160. I mean, that's a giant gap in what you're doing and what the car is reading. The car tended to overheat a lot in traffic. The pedals were very close together, so you had to wear racing shoes and have small-ish feet. And even I caught the gas and the brake. You had to be very narrow to get into the car. You couldn't have been very tall because the seat was fixed. I mean, there was just a lot about this car that it was sort of built for me, but it wasn't very user-friendly. The front end was really low, so the splitter always got jacked up. In traffic, it seemed to overheat a lot, which sucks. But, I mean, other than that, it was a sexy car. We sold it, and we're like, oh, we bought it for 250 grand. How wrong can we do? We sold it for like 220 or 215 after 2 years. We got a lot of marketing value out of it. Looks great in photos. It was a great banner car for the company for 2 years. But I put a couple thousand miles on it, and customers really didn't. And anyone that did take it was like, yeah, it's cool, but it's unusable. So now Celine, they went through a bankruptcy. And this is nothing about like Steve Saleen or whether they build good cars or not. I've always had a hard-on for like the Saleen Mustangs. But Saleen, through the bankruptcy, when you read the bankruptcy filing, you saw that they had like seven, I think it was seven, spare chassis for the Celine S7. So it's not like a final edition. We've got it right. We want to do it. It's just, what are we going to do with these 7 chassis? I don't know. Let's build them up and sell them. Now, technology has come a hell of a long way in the last 15 years, so hopefully they can take this lightweight carbon fiber chassis and make it into something spectacular. Now, when I call it a kit car, I'm calling it a kit car because I've driven the Koenigsegg. I've driven like a Veyron, and those cars are not kit cars. Those cars feel like production cars. They just do everything well. You don't get that with the Celine. It definitely, like, it looks cool, and you know that it's like a sexy car, which has some sort of performance capabilities, especially on the racetrack for the actual the winning S7 race cars that were competing in the, I think it was the Le Mans series, but or the GT series, whatever it was, but GT1, GT2, who knows? But those cars were purpose-built. The road cars were just, I think, to homologate those cars so they could race. Celine did an excellent job on the race cars, but the street cars left a bit to be desired. Now we're going to see, for $1 million, which, I'm assuming it's a typo and it's not $1 billion, but $1 million per car, it's not really a bad car, but now you have to look and you're like, okay, well, how much do the other Celine S7s cost? If they cost $600,000, $400,000. I mean, even the one I sold is probably worth $150,000 more than I sold it for. But these cars are now better, or the technology is better that they can make the car better. Are they just going to slap something together and up the boost? Are they going to re-engineer the car and put out like what this car potentially had the opportunity to be, like they're talking about doing with the DeLoreans? I don't know if that was actually commissioned, but like a modern day DeLorean that's just a better all-around car than the original one, and it's got that cool look to it. So there's 7 chassis that eventually like floated around through the bankruptcy that are now going to be built up, sold for $1 million. I don't know if that's the right price, the wrong price. Only time will tell, but I don't think the world would be a worse off place having 7 more Celines on the road. That would bring the total global allocation of Celine S7s, because I don't think that platform is going anywhere beyond that, to about 60. So it is a really rare car. It's a great Pebble Beach car. It's a great car show car. The NA ones were not the best road-going cars. I've got personal experience over a couple of thousand miles, and it wasn't the most fun. Albeit sexy as hell, it wasn't the most fun. But check out the video I got on the channel, me racing a single-turbo Supra in the Celine S7 while I was spewing diff fluid out the back of the car all over the other car. So if you watch that, you'll catch that. You may not have seen it initially, but you see the windshield is covered in diff fluid, and when the windshield's covered in differential fluid, you don't want to turn the wipers on because they'll smear on the window. Long story short, go check out Super Speeders 4. You can see that, or just, I'm sure there's a Celine S7 versus Supra on YouTube that Jim will link in the description below, and you'll be able to see that. So thank you for watching. Probably the silliest typo I've ever seen in a press release ever, because it was a press release, not just like some guy posting on a forum. A press release is supposed to be proofread by everybody. So that means everybody that read this press release thought, and maybe it's $1 billion, I don't know, but everybody that read that press release didn't catch the fact that the car was for sale for $1 billion. See you next time.